Dear listeners, welcome to our podcast of Next Agriculture, where we talk to the people leading the change, the innovators, experts, and entrepreneurs shaping agritech value chain. Today's guest is Konstantinos Kalaitzoglou, a passionate expert in agriculture and agritech with global experience. Having worked with companies like Plantix and Skyfield, his experience and insights makes him a perfect person to discuss the future of this vital sector. So let's welcome Konstantinos and let's hear what he has to say. Let's go. Hello, Kostas. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on my podcast. As you know, and we've discussed this several times, my goal here is to talk with industry leaders, stakeholders, opinion makers, the guys with experience, the guys who shape an agritech industry, because I personally love the industry. And I love talking to the people who love the industry as well, who work in the industry. And I could not think of any better option who could share your perspective about agtech, where we are, where could we be, and what future might hold for us. So Kostas, thanks once again. And I think we should start with, even though I know a lot about you, we should start about you. What is your background? Tell to our listeners, where do you come from?
Yep, that's a nice. That's a nice introduction. I feel flattered, Irakli. Thanks for having me. I'm not sure if I am a thought leader, but yeah, let's say that I have my opinions, and that's all. Where I'm coming from Greece. I'm coming from the northern part of Greece. I grew up uh, in a region a little bit northern from Thessaloniki, the second biggest city of Greece. Many people, especially in the Balkan Peninsula, know the city and know the area. I grew up in a farming and in general agricultural family. My father is an agronomist, and a farmer. My brother is an agronomist. You already met him. And yeah, let's say my surroundings were full of farming activities. The area is used to be famous for the peach production. There are two regions in Greece that back early 90s they were producing like huge amounts of peach. Big representation in the global peach production. I cannot remember specific numbers, but yeah, uh, more or less that's the part I grew up. Before I left my place and went to study in Thessaloniki agriculture.
And that's how you ended up in agriculture. How about
Yeah, yeah.
agritech? What brought you from agriculture, traditional agriculture, father
Hmm.
agronomist? When when was technology introduced to you?
Yeah. Uh, After I finished my second master's in Sweden, I just, let's say, I was try to I was exploring where I'm going to work. I didn't have in mind that I'm going to get involved with agricultural technology, to be honest.
That's
Back
very
in the
common.
day, yeah, back in the day, it wasn't so big. You think like I would say that agricultural technology used to be a very protected traditional space until software entered this sector, and it, like, let's say that it democratized even for the agronomists. So while I was looking for a job in general, I bumped into Plantix, as you already know, that I used to work. I started there, and this is how I ended up getting involved with agricultural technology. Never expected that I'm going to be into this sector, to be honest.
And now you're currently work for Skyfield, right?
Hmm. I function as an agricultural advisor for Skyfield.
Nice. Um, let's talk a little bit about Plantix. Plantix, as a guy who observes agritech for a while, has been a massive success. I think you will agree. But to explain to our listeners, what was the main value that Plantix was delivering to the farmers?
Hmm. Plantix is a very nice story, and I would say a visionary one. Um it started as an idea, if I'm not mistaken, while the founders of Plantix were doing their PhD in Brazil. Like they came in touch with farmers that they weren't able to identify certain pests and diseases. So they had this idea, they started working on it, and like these ideas are evolving and they're changing a lot. As a founder yourself, you know how you have to stay flexible and evolve. And it ended up being a very, very big disease recognition platform. What Plantix actually is doing is using artificial intelligence to identify pests and diseases through images. In order to make it less fancy, what actually is happening, if you're a farmer and you have some issues that you don't know, you take a photo of the plant. The photo is being uploaded, and our algorithms, let's say, find what is the issue. And then there is a story after that,
Fan-
but more or less, this is the main story.
Fantastic. And it mainly operates in India, right? How? What was the initial reaction of the farmers when you told them, "Look, you take a picture of this pest or of this disease, and then system will tell you, or the machine will tell you what to do or what you're dealing with." In the beginning versus in the end, you've been part of it, right?
Mhm. I would say for it was a kind of live feed lesson for the people who start who work and are involved in such initiatives. It's very interesting because you see it changing while it's happening, and you have to stay again flexible. Uh, the same product, you can say that it is Plantix or any other agricultural product, it will not fit the same way in different areas of the world. And this is mainly because there are different levels of development of farming. For example, the level of extension, like what is the outreach of each country's extension, is a huge part of this journey. Also, the education of the farmers, whether they are tech savvy or not. So, let's say that if you go to California, which is like California has one of the most developed extension agencies in the world. The farmers, yes, they are very educated, they are tech savvy, but they don't need such tool because they are already aware of the pest and disease that they are dealing with. They are high professionals. I remember while I was part of my research in California, I was interviewing farmers that these people have bigger degrees than mine. Like they are like highly professionals, people that they are graduates of Davis, UC Davis. So like you're dealing with very good professionals. In other areas of the world, like Africa, or I would say, again, I'm generalizing, um, maybe Central Asia or Southeast Asia, countries like India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, it's not where it should be. So let's say that they are experiencing their green revolution since 20 years. Like anyhow, they're following what is happening. So in such occasions, and because of the huge diversity of the cultivations, a platform like Plantix fits like a glove. These people don't know what exactly is happening to their
But do they
field.
trust the system?
They do trust the system because they are very fascinated by technology.
What does it take? That's like a key point right there. If you get farmer, basically any human, to trust product, then you can just leave it to word of mouth. So what was the tipping point? Was it that they saw it on neighbor's land that it worked? Was it they experienced themselves? Well, we all know the farming and farmers, they don't love experiments, which is very logical. How did you guys get them to trust the system? Or it took maybe open field experience? What?
Mhm.
How do you get there?
I would say that it happened mainly organic. To my knowledge, I wasn't that involved at that point.
Mhm.
Because it's very impressive. Like if you ever try to use the Plantix platform, even for an experienced agronomist, it's very impressive to see what is happening, especially with the crops, the specialized crops The algorithms are doing miracles, and of course, there was a collaboration with ICRISAT, the research institute in India. Surprisingly, for the rest of the world, but not for the people in India, they are very tech savvy. There is a huge smartphone penetration. Internet, the telephone reception is very high. You will be surprised how, like, even if you pay with a QR code if you buy peanuts on the street. Like, people don't know that, but India is like that. There is a huge potential in this country. People they love these kind of things. So I would say that it was a mixture of many things, but the main thing was the fact that Plantix was useful to them. It was very useful immediately.
They-
Like
Mhm.
it tackled a pain. This is
That's the
why.
most important. That's the most
Yeah.
important. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, as I've said, Plantic's success basically works for everyone who's in agtech, because when you have success cases like Plantix, that which got acquired by Helm, to my knowledge, is a great example. Fast forward, now you moved from the field to skies, and you are actually looking at agronomy all the way from clouds, Skyfield,
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
satellite imagery company. Tell us
Yeah.
about the value Skyfield provides.
Skyfield, again, is a very interesting project. It uses satellite imagery. Mainly, the companies like Skyfield, they use the Green Index and DVI in order to determine what's happening in a field, right? But again, like Plantix and like all similar companies, it's not one thing that fits everywhere. It needs,
Mhm.
like, certain things need to apply and certain conditions need to exist in order for such a platform to be valuable. So in case of any satellite imagery company, including Skyfield, when we are dealing with very big acreage, like farms that are like hundreds or thousands of hectares, satellite imagery immediately becomes very useful, because you can see what is happening from your house, and at least you can have an idea of what you have to check. Uh, then the most important thing, maybe prevent something before it is too late.
I see.
So
Please,
yeah,
please.
I mean, if you want to categorize, like if you want to put them in separate brackets, I would say that Skyfield is for big farming, and I would say that Plantix is for smallholder farming. And
Oh, I see. I see the difference. Let's talk generally about satellite imagery, because it's relatively new. It's something that it's gathering its momentum as we speak. Am I correct in thinking? What are the trends in adoption among farmers or big scale farmers when we are talking about satellite imagery?
I think I would say that the hype is not the same as it used to be for the whole agtech, especially software agtech side. Many things happened the last years. We had the COVID. The COVID affected many startups and many companies in general. After the COVID, we had like the war crisis, Europe, and other places in the world. So I would say that the sector went under some crisis. It seems right now that it's kind of stabilized, but I'm not the, let's say, the ultra specialist to have a very concrete idea about it. It's just my general feeling. Satellite imagery, like other similar platforms, they're very they sound very fancy. They can be very useful also, but I see, and this goes to the general. I would say to the whole agricultural sector. People like things, but they don't necessarily use these things.
Mhm.
And it's a slow moving industry. It's a
It is.
conservative industry. Yeah. And it's an industry of face. You have to show your face there. This is how this industry is working. I believe that eventually we're going to find a point of balance, but we have to be us, the people who work in the agtech environment. We have to be realistic. We have to stay in touch with what are the actual problems and how we can solve them without making many assumptions about solutions that they do not address any problem at all. Yeah.
That's the one big topic. I think that's been a big load on agri-tech, and I'll be happy to move and discuss a little bit more about it. What we've seen in agri-tech, at least at my observation, that we have so-called the touristic approach towards agri-tech. What do I mean by that is I've seen a bunch of agri-tech startups who create solution, and then they try to find the problem around it, or they have the solution, they say it's gonna make miracles, but in real life, once it meets the real farming condition, it's not that effective. Am I right, in my observation? What's your perspective? What are you seeing lately or generally when it comes up to agri-tech startups?
I see many brilliant ideas,
Mhm.
but because it's not, I would say that these ideas are coming from very tech savvy, very innovative technology people, but not necessarily, they are not necessarily either product savvy or agronomy savvy. So I would say that it needs to be a combination between what is happening on the field, meaning agronomy, right? What is happening on the product level, and I'm talking about real product work. I'm talking about the user research. I'm talking about product design. I'm talking about all these things, product fit, market fit. And if you have these two and combine it with a technology, I would say that, yeah, maybe you can do something, especially if you have good founders that they are open-minded and they are not, they are focused on what they're doing, because that's also a huge, let's say, obstacle for many startups. The founders are like fighting with each other and they end up
That's
starting
pretty common.
yeah,
That's
yeah, it's super
that's
common.
that's pretty agnostic, no matter it's
Mm.
agri or any tech. I
Yeah.
see. Okay, let's become more practical because
One,
I.
before you go there, Irakli, just one thing based on like the
Mhm.
whole product talk, let's say, or like how business savvy are all these people. Agronomy traditionally is not attracting business people. Like they will end up working in the agricultural sector, but it's not like telecommunications, for example, that you have all the business administration people flooding and like trying to do some. It's not. It's a unique industry. So I would say that the, let's say that you have the best uh, product person. Agriculture is not their first choice to work in, and you can see that. You can see lately. I have the feeling that it changes, and also people like me, that we started from the agriculture and we climb our way towards the more product strategy kind of business element. But other than that, in general, we don't attract this kind of talent.
Hmm.
And I think it's kind of obvious if you consider how many agricultural technology companies are failing.
What do you think could be solution to that? Because sector needs brilliant people. Sector needs open-minded people, and as you say, it's not their first choice.
Mhm.
What do you think could be the solution to it? Because I remember when I decided to move into agriculture, there was like 10 or 15 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people could not understand why, including my friends. I said, what's in it in agriculture for you? So,
Mhm.
and I had a passion. I I I I had a bigger picture of what agriculture is really about. But what do you think? What could be the solution? How to bring
Mhm.
those brilliant-minded people to the sector?
Mhm. I don't think there is an easy answer to this question. I can bring I can bring some of my own experiences.
Mhm.
Uh, First and foremost, agriculture is not fancy. It's not fancy as many people believe that it is. I remember while I was in Sweden for studies, I came in touch with many people that they were studying uh, agriculture, different on different master subjects, and they were like because they never came in touch with the rough reality of agriculture and farming. They had this idea that okay, we're going to study and then we're going to make our own farm in order to become farmers. And I was like,
No, you're
you don't
not.
know. You don't know. You don't know what awaits you. You have no idea, because these people they had this very romantic idea about farming, which is not necessarily bad. We need such people. We need all these romantic people,
Yeah.
but yeah, but like they have to at the end they have to do something, right? And I would say that in general, it's not a fancy topic. And if you like exclude Europe or maybe USA, the rest of the world, farming is something that you do when you failed in everything else.
I wouldn't I wouldn't put it in that way, but maybe looking at statistics, maybe you're right. Um, the big question would be here, when,
One small note. Sorry for interrupting.
please, please,
Not working in agriculture like us in the higher level. I'm talking
but
about
farming.
people. Yeah, exactly.
That's an interesting observation. Costas, I have a theory. I have a theory. So unfortunately, sometime soon, farming will have more critical importance than it has now. Yet we still don't, to my opinion, yet we still don't feel the effects of what climate has to bring, which is definitely a sad story. And at some point, I hope it's not gonna be soon. The farming will become extremely critical thing to do.
Mhm,
And that's where I expect a lot of brilliant people to spend more time and more attention, maybe not from the farming perspective, but from the agri-tech solution perspective, because till now, agriculture remains the 12th, the least digitized sector in the world for obvious reasons. And that's where I think the improvement could bring a huge impact globally. But let's
mhm,
see, let's see. Let's become more practical a little bit, and then I'll ask you the futuristic question, which is the kind of a bottom line of our conversation with every guest. But before that, um, what advice would you give to current or future agtech founders? What would be your
mhm.
advice? Because you've seen it a lot. You've seen failing companies, you've seen successful companies, you worked and advised some of them. So give us your best.
Mm. I would
It's
say
a
like
tough one. I
yeah,
know.
yeah. Again, it's not a simple answer. I'm not trying to avoid answering. Like I have some answers, but
You
you
have
cannot
to
be so
answer.
sure. Yeah, you cannot be so sure. I would say to the founders, keep your communication very high. Be honest to each other. Don't put your ego in front of the business. Like everyone is going to take something at the end of the day. That's on the practical human management level. And on the business level, I would say that be sure that you are solving a problem. Otherwise, keep exploring and discovering what you can do in order to help the farmers. Like don't, and this is very like very basic product talk is like do not fall in love with your product. And if you see not only in the agricultural sector, many companies they did one pivot after the other.
Mhm.
It's very important to stay flexible. You need to stay focused, but at the same time, you need to stay flexible. When you see that it's not moving, do not blame the users that they are not using it. find a way that why will find why. So stay in touch with the people that you're trying to help. Do not isolate into your thoughts. If it doesn't matter how smart you are, if you don't take the feedback from the market and the users, it yeah you'll go nowhere. That is my if I can if it can be boiled down in one thing is like yeah, talk to your user, stay in touch with them, and keep doing it on a weekly basis. Keep doing it. This is why the product research is
Crucial.
yeah, it's very important. It's very very important.
Nice. That's like a very straightforward instructions to new or upcoming AgTech founders. Thanks for that. Okay, Kostas, I think we are getting close to our conversation, and there's one last very special question we ask every our guest, and I'll do the same with you. So imagine it's the question is, what do you think the next agriculture look like? We all know that we are currently in agriculture 4.0, and no clear idea what 5.0 will be. So give us your guess. And then when we meet in 2040, 2050, let's listen to this again. But
Yeah,
what how do you see the next agriculture?
yeah. I don't know. I can make my assumptions, but like that is maybe one of the problems. There is a reason why green revolution was so integral and so crucial for agriculture because all this chemical technology came into our lives, and despite all the bad things that brought with it, at the same time it brought also many good things. And people, especially in the I would say like it's the fancy ag people that they are not in touch with what is happening on the ground. They may have opinions about it, but agricultural chemical technology was disruptive. And as my grandfather used to say, they were able to have free time. So it was very important, very important for them to work less and produce more. And why this happened? Because chemistry works, right? With it's bad and it's good. So now we are entering the era of artificial intelligence. I do see something new happening. I'm not sure what, but if it is not disruptive, I don't think anything is going to change. I think it's going to continue being entangled into this agricultural policy discussion, this back and forth. Usually, like what I will speak for European Union, you have these top-down decisions that affect the whole agricultural sector and the farmers. United States, I would say that it is similar, but I think it will continue in the same way. Maybe, um, maybe I don't know,
How does it
something
look like,
like
Kostas?
how
Give me
does it
your
look like?
assumptions. Give me your assumptions. Do we use robots or do we still have to handpick the fruit? Do
I
we
think I think the big farms are going to become bigger. I don't want to turn the discussion into like a political discussion, but I think the big farms is going to turn bigger, and
okay?
these farms are going to have the resources to utilize such solutions. Again, this is the big crop farming. You still have like huge amount of smallholders. I don't know how what's going to if there is going to be something different for the smallholders, but I think that for the big farms, certainly technology is going to be huge, huge.
Are we gonna still use chemicals?
I hope so. But yeah, it's, I do, but I hope so. I would say that instead of jumping from 0 to 100, my goal, like as a like let's say that the core of my studies in plant protection, I wish that we stop this kind of like discussion about the ultimate transition to organic agriculture, and I would take it step by step. So for the first thing that I would love to happen is like an actual integrated approach towards either pesticides or fertilizers, and build on that again step by step until we reach the point that we can say that okay, now with all this technology and this knowledge, we can minimize the chemicals. But there is a reason why, chemicals is still there, because the chemistry is working. And yeah, I know that this is not so popular for the people, like for the romantics, but yeah, it is the reality. All the agronomists know.
I truly believe, and I don't have to believe, it's a science. Chemistry works. Absolutely. My question could be devil's advocate here. Maybe we'll get a better chemistry here that will allow us to use less pesticides or use organic pesticides. But once again, this is a wild guess, Kostas. I don't know, neither do you. Let's see
It's
what future
a
has to hold.
it's a kind of like you want your crops and your fields to produce certain amounts of food. You treat them like a professional athletes, so like you have to keep feeding them, and you have to like, it's not only a matter of technologies, how we like how agriculture is being organized.
Mhm.
So it's about, again, it's about the market, it's about the certain politics, it's about technology. It's a mixture of things. It is not only one thing. That is at least the way I see it, as a complicated, multifactorial issue that we have to tackle from different sides in order to improve something.
I agree. I agree. Kostas, thanks so much for your time, for sharing all the super great insights that you hold due to your huge experience in agriculture, in agritech.
It's
Once
not that big.
again, I promise that at some point, after 10, 15, maybe 20 years, we'll come back to this recording and let's see how much of your guesses or your predictions were right. And I hope
Let's
by
see.
that time, agriculture will be so much more sustainable and famine will not be an issue at all. Thank you once again, and let's stay in touch. All the
Thanks for
best.
having me, Irakli. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Cheers.